So, I wanted to talk a little bit today about a topic that I get asked about a lot in a lot of interviews recently, a lot of blog topics. There's so much posturing about, is hybrid here to stay? Is that the new way of working? Are we all going to go back to the office? Is there going to be a big surge in just staying at home, lessons learned from the pandemic era, etc.? And I think that's really a mixed bag. What got me started thinking about this today was I saw a post on LinkedIn, and someone was sharing someone else's comment. It was a picture of a big office building, and it had Zoom up top. It was obviously a big Zoom office. I don't know if it was the headquarters or where it was, but their caption or their text for this image was, why does Zoom have a building, or why does Zoom have offices? It was something to that effect, right? The point being, they were calling out the irony that Zoom is a company that makes a platform that allows us to work virtually. It enables us to collaborate and communicate via audio, video, files, chat, all that good stuff remotely. So why would a company that's built such a tool have offices that you have to physically go to still? And I get it, right? I get the irony. We've all kind of postured that. It's the same with Microsoft. Microsoft has a large number of offices. Now, of course, some have shut down following the pandemic. I think a lot of companies have grappled with that question about physical offices actually needed moving forward. And I believe the stance of a lot of companies has been forever changed about whether remote work is valid in their company or not. But these companies, the point being, they create these platforms and they still have offices. Now, whether it's a company that creates a platform that enables virtual collaboration, or it's a company that does something else, anything else, but they typically collaborate by meeting and doing stuff in a meeting type of space. Either way, what jumped out at me is I'm like, well, that's kind of an all or nothing question that was posed online. Of course, at least to me, in my mind, there are a number of reasons why you will still need a physical space. You're going to need certain roles, for starters, will always have to do a function in person at an office. If you've got hands-on lab type work, you're collaborating on physical things together in person, building prototypes, I'm sure that y'all can provide feedback in the comments as well. There's a number of things why you would need to be in person physically. But I think this person was probably pointing out situations where, look, most of the people in this place, the stuff that they collaborate on takes place during meetings. They hop on a call, or they go into a room together and they meet and they collaborate, or they talk about it at their desk. But that's all stuff they could do remotely now, right? And it just got me thinking, how many people actually have that thought process? How many of you out there actually think, look, if it can be done remotely, it should be done remotely? Because we all know that there are just certain jobs that have to stay in person, period. That's the nature of the job. And that's okay. That's good. We're going to continue to have buildings and facilities for those people. But how much real estate is becoming the question. And as I go and we look at, hey, I talked about this exact the scene here in my last live, where you've got these new signature rooms from Microsoft, and they are meant to enable a more natural communication. So for those that do stay in the office, how do we continue to provide solutions that make it feel like it's a more natural conversation for those that are staying remote or are hybrid, or and those that are still in the office? But the very real question becomes, look, there have been significant real estate investments by a lot of companies. Those are not going to go away. Those investments, the money that's been put toward that, the physical spaces that are there, those buildings aren't going to just not exist and not be leased or not be paid for a period of time. And the businesses that have embraced remote work or fully hybrid work or fully remote work, they can't ignore those investments. Those are still very real line item numbers in the budget that they have to account for, and they have to justify, and they have to say, What are we doing with these and how are we continuing to use them? So that's a factor that we can't ignore in our equation about what's happening in the future. Does that mean that people should have to just go back to the office just because we paid for it and we need to make sure we're showing value there? No, not necessarily. And I'm not suggesting that. But I'm suggesting that maybe there are some other reasons that you have in-person offices still. A lot of the studies recently indicate that there is a pretty good trend and solidifying numbers happening in the direction of hybrid work and a desire for hybrid work, not just a, hey, we're allowing you to do hybrid work, but where the employees themselves are saying, we want to do hybrid. We recognize that there is something we cannot replace about that in-person connection. We cannot, there's an element of collaboration, there's an element of connection and knowing each other and camaraderie that we cannot recreate or still experience with the technology. As good as it is, as much as of a natural conversation as it gives us, there's still something to being in the office 1, 2, 3 days a week and having that in-person collaboration. Now the flexibility they love. They love that if life brings challenges with childcare needs or, hey, I've got to do this week versus last week or whatever, I've got that flexibility to be in the office for part of that time and then be home when I need to be for the other part of that time. Because employers are now realizing that productivity isn't taking a hit. Productivity is happening. It's probably way up there, actually. Those of us that have been working for years knew that the productivity would be probably boosted by a lot more remote work. So we know that that's not the crux of the problem here. But as I look at this, I kind of wonder how many people feel like if it can be done remotely, should it be done remotely? Now, being at Jabra, kind of one of the things that I loved when I came on, from a marketing perspective, we kind of embraced this tagline, this mantra of technology for life's new rhythm. And the idea was there's all kinds of circumstances as a hybrid worker that you're going to be in. You're going to need, video devices that keep you on the go. We've got the Panicast 20. We've got the original Panicast. You're going to need audio equipment, whether that's, earbuds or physical headsets, whatever the case may be. You're going to need all kinds of different equipment to enable you to work at your best, at your most naturalist, wherever you're at. And if that's in the office, then great. You've got office equipment in those spaces that enables natural, free-flowing collaboration and conversations to happen between those in the office and those abroad. But I just, this whole picture on LinkedIn today had me thinking, look, I'm asked an awful lot. Again, whether it's interviews, blogs, at events, what are you seeing as a trend? What are you seeing from customers? Where do you think the whole hybrid versus fully remote, fully in office, where do you think that's going? And I throw my opinion out there a lot. And that opinion in general is that hybrid work is here to stay. I don't think that's going to go anywhere. I think too many people got a taste for being able to be home and having that flexibility, and too many employers were shown employees are still productive when they're at home. You're not losing that productivity and they're still getting the job done. And there are tools out there from awesome providers like Jabra that make it possible to do that and to do it well. But then after we all got a good taste of that, I think that so many people began to see there's a need to be in person still. Not all the time, but part of the time at least. We need that in-person interaction. We need the laughter together. We need the camaraderie. We need to feel that in-person connection that you just can't translate via technology. At least not yet until we're all plugged into the matrix, right? So that's my take. My take is that hybrid is here to stay. No, I don't think we're all going to fully go back into the office in some large mass scale again. I don't think the huge majority of us are going to stay fully remote all the time. I think that this trend we're seeing of not just hybrid work taking effect, but an interest by employees for hybrid work, I think that's taken root. I think it's here to stay. But please drop your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let's start some fresh debate here. Do you think hybrid is here to stay, or do you think we're going to trend in one direction or another? Companies have to figure out what they're doing with their real estate investments. They got to figure out what their policies are, what works best for their organization, and for whatever their products are, right? Because that comes into play as well. But what are your thoughts for the wider scale? Do you think we're staying fully hybrid? Do you think we are going to go in one direction or the other? And do you think, I really want to know the answer to this question, do you think that if something could be done remotely, then in all cases it should be? Or do you think there's an importance to having that human connection, regardless of how awesome the technology is that bridges the gap the other 50, 60, 40% of the time? Thanks for tuning in. Hope you drop your thoughts in there, and we'll see you around on the next live. This is the part where I got to awkwardly go over here and stop